There's a strange and powerful energy that visits you in the moments when you feel completely drained, when your body is heavy and your mind whispers that you have nothing left to give. Most people misunderstand this state. They think tiredness is only a signal to stop, a sign that effort should end. But hidden inside those moments of exhaustion is a rare kind of strength that only reveals itself when you reach the edge of your limits. This is the secret energy that sneaks in when you are tired, the force that waits quietly for the exact moment when you believe you cannot continue. It does not appear when you are comfortable. It arrives when you have given everything you thought you had and still choose to take one more step. In life, you will discover that your greatest growth rarely happens when you feel rested and safe. Growth hides inside the challenge, inside the long hours of practice, inside the late nights when no one is watching, and the easy choice would be to quit. Tiredness is not simply the absence of energy. It is the doorway to discovering how much more you actually possess. Most people stop at the first sign of fatigue because the mind convinces them that tired means empty. But tired often means you are standing on the edge of a deeper power. When you refuse to surrender, when you keep going even though your muscles ache and your thoughts beg for comfort, you activate reserves of strength you did not know existed. Think of every great breakthrough in human history, every moment of personal transformation. Behind each one is a person who reached the point of exhaustion and decided to push beyond it. Athletes describe a second wind that comes after the body feels like it cannot continue. Creators speak of sudden clarity after long hours of frustration. Innovators recall the spark of insight that arrives after days of struggle. These are not accidents. They are proof that the mind and body store hidden energy, waiting for the signal that you are serious enough to deserve it. The signal is your persistence. The trigger is your refusal to quit. The secret energy is not loud. It does not rush in like a sudden burst of adrenaline. It appears quietly, like a steady flame that begins to burn in the darkness. At first you may not notice it. Your breathing is still heavy, your muscles still sore, but something shifts inside you. The task that felt impossible a moment ago now feels slightly lighter. Your focus sharpens. Your movements become more precise. The noise of doubt begins to fade, replaced by a calm determination. This is not a miracle. It is the natural response of a human being who has moved beyond comfort and into true growth. The body adapts, the mind adjusts, the spirit awakens. But this energy does not come to those who only chase easy victories. It rewards the patient, the disciplined, the ones willing to stay when fatigue tempts them to leave. It reveals itself to the person who runs when others walk, who practices when others rest, who studies when others sleep. To reach this level, you must first accept that tiredness is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is the signal that you are approaching the edge of your current abilities, and the edge is where transformation begins. The tired mind says stop, but the committed heart says continue. Every time you listen to the heart instead of the weakness, you grow stronger. This lesson is not only for athletes or performers. It belongs to anyone who dreams of achieving something meaningful. Whether you are building a career, learning a skill, raising a family, or simply trying to improve yourself, there will be days when you feel completely spent. The work will seem endless. The results will feel distant. Your mind will create reasons to slow down or give up. Those moments are not signs of failure. They are invitations to discover the secret energy. If you accept the invitation, if you keep showing up even when progress is invisible, you will experience a strength that cannot be explained until it is felt. When you reach this state, something fascinating happens. Your relationship with effort changes. Instead of fearing tiredness, you begin to respect it. You see fatigue not as a barrier but as proof that you are moving forward. You understand that discomfort is the price of mastery. You realize that every extra repetition, every late night study session, every long day of work is a deposit into the account of your future self. This understanding transforms struggle into purpose. You stop asking, "How can I avoid tiredness?" and start asking, "How can I use it?" To use it, you must develop awareness. The secret energy does not appear when you recklessly exhaust yourself without intention. It comes when you combine effort with focus, discipline with clarity. It comes when you push past comfort but stay connected to your breath, your posture, your thoughts. Awareness allows you to recognize the difference between harmful fatigue and growth fatigue. One damages, the other strengthens. The key is to stay present, to listen to your body, and to treat tiredness as information rather than an obstacle. When you work with it instead of against it, you discover that exhaustion is not a wall, but a doorway. This doorway leads to a deeper self. Beyond tiredness, you meet the part of you that does not rely on motivation or external rewards. It is the part of you that acts from pure intention, the part that continues because it has decided to continue. This self is quieter but far more powerful than the version of you that starts strong when conditions are easy. It is the self that emerges in the final mile of a marathon, in the last hours of a demanding project, in the silent nights of long practice. This self does not need applause. It does not need recognition. It moves because movement itself is the reward. When you touch this state, life itself begins to change. Challenges no longer intimidate you in the same way, because you know that hidden energy is always available. You approach difficulties with calm confidence, understanding that the first wave of tiredness is never the end. You have learned to trust the second wind, to wait for the quiet strength that follows the storm of exhaustion. This trust becomes a source of freedom. It allows you to take bigger risks, to dream larger dreams, to pursue goals that once felt impossible, because you know that your limits are far beyond what your mind first tells you. This awareness also teaches you patience. The secret energy does not obey a schedule. It does not appear at the beginning of effort. It waits for the right moment. It arrives only when you have proven your commitment through action. You cannot trick it. You cannot buy it. You earn it through persistence, through the decision to stay one more minute, to take one more step, to give one more effort when everything inside you wants to stop. And each time you earn it, you build not only physical strength but also mental resilience. You train yourself to endure discomfort, to stay focused under pressure, and to remain steady when life becomes demanding. This practice of pushing through tiredness creates a ripple effect in every part of life. It builds confidence because you know you can rely on yourself when things get hard. It builds discipline because you learn to act even when feelings tell you otherwise. It builds character because you prove to yourself that comfort is not your master. Over time, these qualities shape the person you become. They make you reliable, determined, and unstoppable. People will notice your calm under pressure, your ability to stay composed when others panic, your willingness to continue when others give up. They may call it strength, but you will know it is simply the secret energy revealing itself again and again. Remember that this energy does not mean you ignore rest. Rest is part of growth. True strength is the balance between effort and recovery. The point is not to live in constant exhaustion, but to recognize that tiredness is not the end of the journey. It is the bridge to a deeper capacity. When rest follows effort, the body rebuilds, the mind resets, and the spirit prepares for the next challenge. The secret energy is not about destroying yourself. It is about discovering yourself. So when you feel tired, when your mind whispers that it is time to quit, pause and listen carefully. Somewhere beneath the surface, there is more within you waiting to rise. Take one more step. Breathe one more breath. Stay one more moment in the struggle. That quiet force will meet you there. And when it does, you will understand that tiredness was never the enemy. It was the invitation to meet the strongest version of yourself. The moment you believe you are empty is often the very moment you are standing at the doorway of a deeper, hidden strength that has been quietly waiting for you to arrive. It is the point where your body feels heavy, where your thoughts slow down, where every movement requires more effort than you think you can give. It is the instant when you tell yourself there is nothing left inside, and yet something within you refuses to completely stop. This moment is not a dead end, it is a threshold. It is where the part of you that relies on comfort begins to fade, and the part of you that understands resilience begins to awaken. Most people never discover this doorway because the discomfort convinces them to quit too soon. They see the sensation of emptiness as a sign of weakness rather than as the invitation to step into a deeper layer of their own power. Hidden strength does not announce itself with loud signals or sudden bursts of energy. It waits in the quiet spaces where doubt is loudest. When you think you are finished, when you feel like every drop of energy has been spent, there is still a well of endurance that remains untapped. Your mind often tries to protect you by sounding alarms long before your true limits are reached. It tells you that you cannot continue, but this is only the voice of caution, not the truth of your capability. The human body and mind are built to adapt, to push past what feels like the end and find new reserves of energy. When you take one more step despite feeling empty, you prove to yourself that the limits you believed in were only temporary illusions. This hidden strength is not reserved for athletes or extreme situations. It appears in the everyday challenges of life. It shows itself when you stay up late to finish work that matters, when you comfort someone despite carrying your own exhaustion, when you keep learning even though the subject feels overwhelming. Each time you refuse to give in to the easy escape, you touch that deeper strength. It might feel small at first, a steady breath, a clearer thought, a sudden calm, but it grows with every act of persistence. Over time, you begin to trust it. You begin to realize that tiredness is not the end of your ability, only the beginning of discovering more. The doorway of hidden strength teaches you that growth begins where comfort ends. When you are comfortable, you are operating within the boundaries of what you already know. You are moving inside the circle of your current capacity. But when you reach the place where you feel empty, you are standing at the edge of that circle. Beyond it lies the unknown, and that is where real transformation lies. This is why every meaningful achievement requires discomfort. It is why great musicians practice until their fingers ache, why innovators work through countless failures, why leaders stay steady through long seasons of pressure. They understand that the greatest rewards are found beyond the point of fatigue, in the space where hidden strength waits to be discovered. The moment of emptiness is not only physical. It can be emotional, mental, or even creative. You might feel it when you have faced repeated setbacks, when your plans seem to crumble despite endless effort, when you are overwhelmed by responsibilities and uncertainty. In these moments, it is tempting to believe that you have nothing left to give. But emptiness often signals that you are shedding the old version of yourself. It is the space between who you were and who you are becoming. If you keep moving forward, even in small steps, you allow the deeper part of you to emerge. What feels like emptiness is often the clearing needed for new strength. new ideas, and new levels of resilience to take root. This hidden energy does not arrive with sudden excitement. It is quiet, steady, and patient. It does not rely on motivation. It comes from commitment. You cannot summon it with a single burst of willpower. You earn it by staying present, by breathing through discomfort, by refusing to let temporary feelings decide permanent outcomes. Each breath you take when you feel empty is a declaration that you are bigger than your tiredness. Each action you take despite fatigue is a signal to your mind and body that you are ready to grow. Slowly, the strength reveals itself, not as a dramatic explosion, but as a calm certainty that you can keep going. Once you experience this hidden strength, you begin to carry it into every part of life. Challenges no longer frighten you in the same way because you know that what feels like the end is rarely the end. You develop a quiet confidence that even when you reach the point of exhaustion, there is more within you than you can see. This awareness changes how you approach goals. You stop waiting for perfect conditions or endless motivation. You begin to act, trusting that strength will meet you along the way. You stop fearing tiredness because you understand it is a sign that you are getting closer to growth. The discovery of hidden strength also teaches patience. It reminds you that the mind often wants quick results, but real growth requires staying with the process. You cannot rush the appearance of this energy. It arrives only when you have proven through action that you are serious, that you are willing to stay when others leave, that you are committed to finishing even when comfort is gone. This patience becomes a source of power in itself. It allows you to stay calm during uncertainty, to endure long seasons of effort, to remain steady when progress is slow. Most importantly, this experience changes the relationship you have with yourself. You begin to trust your ability to handle difficulty. You learn that you are capable of far more than your first thoughts suggest. You stop underestimating your capacity because you have seen firsthand that the human spirit holds energy far beyond the obvious. This trust becomes a foundation for courage. It gives you the strength to take risks, to dream bigger dreams, to pursue goals that once felt impossible, because you know that when you reach the edge, a deeper strength will meet you there. So when you feel empty, when every part of you whispers that there is nothing left, remember that you are not at the end, you are at the doorway. Pause, breathe, and take one more step. Even the smallest action carries power when taken in the face of exhaustion. The hidden strength will not rush in all at once, but it will begin to rise with each breath, with each movement, with each decision to continue. Over time, that quiet energy will carry you farther than you imagined. What once felt like emptiness will reveal itself as the starting point of your greatest growth, and you will understand that the human spirit is designed not just to endure, but to rise again and again beyond every limit you once believed was final. Tiredness is not the end of effort. It is the signal that growth is ready to begin. The first sensations of fatigue are not proof that you have reached a permanent limit, but a sign that you are standing at the threshold of a deeper layer of ability. Most people mistake this moment as a command to stop, because the body sends signals of discomfort, and the mind amplifies those signals with thoughts of doubt. Yet, what feels like an ending is often the very beginning of transformation. Fatigue is the language your body uses to tell you that you are stepping beyond familiar territory, stretching the boundaries of what you thought was possible, and preparing to build new strength. Instead of running from it, you can learn to see it as a guide. When you first feel tired, your instinct is to protect yourself. The muscles ache, the mind resists, and a small voice inside whispers that rest is the only intelligent choice. That voice is not malicious, it is ancient. It is the survival mechanism of a system designed to keep you safe. But growth does not come from staying safe. Growth requires challenge, and challenge requires stepping into the space where the mind begins to protest. Tiredness is the sign that you have reached this space. It tells you that you have moved past routine effort and entered the zone where adaptation begins. Each time you continue with awareness, you send a message to your body and mind that you are ready to expand their capacity. The process is similar in every field of life. The runner feels the heaviness in their legs before the second wind arrives. The musician feels the weight of repetition before the breakthrough of mastery. The student feels the fog of mental fatigue before the sudden clarity of understanding. In each case, tiredness signals that the old level of ability is being challenged, that the body or mind is working to build new connections, and that growth is in motion. The discomfort is temporary, but the strength it produces remains. Those who stop too soon never discover this reward because they misinterpret fatigue as a barrier rather than a bridge. To embrace tiredness as a signal, you must shift your perspective. Instead of asking how to avoid exhaustion, begin to ask what it is trying to teach you. It might be telling you that your current strategy is too easy and that your body is ready for more. It might be revealing that your focus needs sharpening, that your breath needs to deepen, or that your mind needs to quiet the noise of doubt. Every wave of fatigue carries information about your growth. By listening to it instead of fleeing from it, you gain access to the hidden energy that waits beyond the first layer of effort. This does not mean recklessly ignoring the need for rest. There is a difference between productive tiredness and harmful overexertion. Productive tiredness is the natural fatigue that comes from committed effort, where you are pushing yourself with purpose and staying aware of your limits. Harmful exhaustion comes from neglecting recovery, from chasing results without balance. The signal of growth is found in the former. It is the kind of tiredness that appears during a meaningful challenge where your mind and body are stretched but not destroyed. Learning to recognize this difference is part of the discipline. As you practice, you will begin to notice patterns. The first stage of effort feels manageable. The second stage brings discomfort and the temptation to quit. If you stay present through this second stage, focusing on breath, maintaining rhythm, keeping your mind calm, you eventually enter a third stage where the discomfort fades and a new steadiness arrives. This is the second wind, the release of hidden energy that allows you to continue with surprising ease. It is not magic. It is the body's natural adaptation, the reward for refusing to surrender at the first sign of fatigue. Each time you reach this stage, you strengthen the pathway between effort and growth. The principle extends far beyond physical activity. In relationships, tiredness can appear as emotional fatigue after difficult conversations or long periods of care for others. When you stay engaged with patience and understanding, you discover a deeper capacity for love and empathy. In learning, mental fatigue signals that your brain is forming new connections, that it is rearranging old patterns to make room for deeper understanding. If you take a short break and return with focus, you often find that clarity comes more easily than before. In creative work, the moment you feel drained of ideas is often when the best insight is closest. Remaining present through the fog allows the hidden spark to appear. What makes tiredness a powerful signal is that it forces you to confront the difference between feeling and truth. Feeling tired does not always mean you are finished. It means you are being asked to decide whether comfort or growth will guide your next step. When you choose growth, you strengthen more than muscles or skills. You strengthen character. you build the habit of perseverance. You teach yourself that discomfort is temporary and that effort creates transformation. Over time, this habit becomes a foundation for everything you do. The more you practice, the more you trust this process. You no longer panic at the first sign of fatigue because you know what comes next. You begin to welcome tiredness as evidence that you are progressing. You approach challenges with calm focus, knowing that the signal of growth will appear and that you have the discipline to meet it. This confidence extends into every area of life. Work becomes a place for mastery rather than mere survival. Relationships become opportunities for deeper connection. Goals that once seemed distant begin to feel achievable because you know how to move through the stages of effort without fear. Eventually, you come to see tiredness not as a threat, but as a companion. It walks with you whenever you attempt something meaningful. It arrives to test your commitment, to measure your willingness to move beyond the comfort of the familiar. Each time you greet it with awareness and persistence, you step closer to your potential. Growth does not happen in the absence of fatigue, it happens because of it. The signal is always the same. When tiredness appears, the real work is about to begin. That is the moment to breathe, to steady your mind, and to continue with quiet determination. In that choice, growth takes root, hidden strength awakens, and a new version of yourself begins to emerge.